Hello everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zakaria the Ghost. Guys, this is the finale of the three-part series that I call What I Saw on Modimolle Mountain. And I am going to, be deep on this video, and I'm going to share some of the stuff with you, and I'm going to share also the dreams that I'm like recently, seeing. And I don't want you guys to judge. It's simply because of I think this is important because of what I'm doing here, guys. It is not entertainment, it is the journey. So once you can sit down and try to look at what I'm saying in a different angle, you will see what I'm trying to build. You will see the journey. Because after coming back from the mountain, I find the different conversations right now. I find people who used to look at me and they were telling me that, everybody has a right to dream when I was talking about films and everything. Now they have a different conversation with me. You just hear people asking me, how can we help? And even dreams that I see recently, you'll just hear what I'm trying to say. There is things which are getting better, and I am super excited about, the kind of dreams that I'm seeing these days, because they are no longer the same dreams whereby I used to see myself running. In most cases, I used to see myself, running from what I can call a snake, because you all know that, snakes are always associated with, the elders. They're always associated with the ancestors, the African spirituality. They always, represent themselves using the symbol of the snake. Although, that symbol can be, explained in different ways. But every time when you're listening to everybody who talk about traditional healing, they will always tell you about the symbol of that creature. Now, while I was there on top of the mountain, I saw these two guys. They were approaching to my direction, and they just greeted me. They made sure that they keep the distance, and they asked for a cell phone because they were struggling a lot with fire on that day. And I was like asking them, guys, why cell phone here? Did you come straight to me, or you were going somewhere and you just saw me here? They said, no, we were coming straight to you because we saw you, by the time you arrived here, but we didn't want to distract you. We wanted you to go on top of the mountain and do whatever you do. When you are coming back, that's when we will start asking for, a favor whereby we can use your cell phone. We didn't want to distract you. And I realized that these guys, they were with two dogs. And these dogs, they were identical, the same height, the same colors. And I look at those dogs and I was like, wow, this is not just coincident. Those dogs, like I said, they were black and white. Their whole body was, black. And from the neck upwards to the head, those dogs, they were white. And something happened while I stood up there, whereby I told the guys, like saying, okay, no problem. I was already going home, so we can just descend from this mountain together. And I realized something, that when I was walking, those dogs, I had to be very careful because they were just so happy. They were showing the excitement, like maybe, I am one of the family member that they knew from back in the days, and now they see me after a very long time. They're happy because even if when I was walking, I had to mind my step, make sure that I don't step on top of those dogs, because they were like all over, they were like walking in between my legs. So I had to be careful of, my steps. And while we were busy walking there, and I just realized something, that I always talk about black and white. I always talk about wearing a white, shirt and wearing a black trouser all the time. And here comes this dog on top of the mountain. And these dogs are so excited in a way that it's just like a welcoming gesture. If they were like barking or doing something, I was going to know that there is something wrong with me. But the way they were like excited, and I understood that, this is a good sign of saying, me being on top of the mountain, although I went with the camera, it's not like they are angry with me. Like it was like, sometimes animals, they can just communicate with you by just doing whatever the normal thing that they're just saying. You can just read the language, what they're trying to do. Are they angry? Are they showing anger, or are they excited? And I took it at that as, a good sign. So I borrowed the guys, the cell phone. They made a phone call. They call their supervisor so that the supervisor can bring more guys whereby they can help them to deal with fire. So after that, I went to the road whereby I have to go and hike, and I realized that these guys are not giving me a lift because I was just wearing a white jacket. And I realized one thing, they are all looking at me surprised, like this guy is just alone, next to modimolle mountain during the day, is hiking. It's like people didn't even know if maybe I am just somebody who is there for a day, or maybe I'm just a spirit which is next to that mountain, because we all know a lot of stories about modimolle mountain. People will always tell you that sometimes when they're driving at night, they see people hiking or they see people crossing the road, and that's the reason why it is so dangerous. For many years, we grew up knowing that that road, it is so dangerous, especially when we are going to Polokwane or to Limpopo. Even if you can go and check online, just Google modimolle, you will hear a lot of stories about it. They already made cartoons whereby they're talking about going to, passing that mountain. And I remember the guy was like saying, thank God I passed, that mountain. It has been something which was very, very, scary, always passing to that mountain. There is a lot of stories, guys. And I remember there was also this famous picture that people, used to share a lot on Facebook and on the social media, whereby they were showing a young girl who is about 13 years. She was carrying a baby or a doll, and she was crossing a road, in the middle of the night. And that picture was taken by the driver, who saw her and decided, to slow down, and eventually they took that picture. And that picture, it is so clear, because when you look at that young woman or that young girl, you can tell that, it's, how can I put it? Have you seen when kids are playing on a dusty road and they had to go home to take a shower before they sleep? She was in that, that kind of space whereby you can tell that it looks like she maybe passed away via the car accident, and that's the reason why she will time after time, cross the road, whereby she will also cause a lot of, car accidents. I know you guys, you had, those stories a lot, because of in African tradition, there is this thing whereby, when somebody, passed away, the family members has to go to the place where that person passed away, so that they can collect, the person's soul or the spirit into that place. It's well known. It is not something that, are just talking out of not knowing anything. But it's not only black people, even white people. If you can look at, the accidents which are happening on the roads, you will see a cross. You will see the white cross. Sometimes they go every year, they put flowers there, so that they remember that person. The main reason of doing that is to show that person who passed away from that we still remember you, we miss you, we know that you passed away here. And that really explains why some other people will say there is no such thing like ancestors. If people were just dying and that was the end, why do even white people keep on bringing flowers to a place whereby the accident happened? Why are they putting the crosses to the place whereby the accident happened, where they lost, their loved ones? It is just, sometimes we are so ignorant, and some of the things which, when they are happening, we don't want to listen. And I realize that it is our biggest problem when things are done. Sometimes we just have to pay attention and ask questions and want to know why are people doing this and are doing that. I'm not even want to talk about the Mexicans, because we know they have their own culture whereby they have what they call the day where they're celebrating the dead, where they're celebrating people who passed away. We are not going to go there because of there is a lot of culture, religion and stuff, And I just wanted to touch on that, even if when we are still in South Africa, of saying, we have so many people who say, ancestors don't exist. Yes, we can agree and disagree on that one, but as long as we still have to open the Bible and read about people who were on earth before and they are no longer on earth, we shouldn't judge those who goes and acknowledge ancestors and everything. So now, as I continue, that picture is the famous picture, and it's just fortunate that the driver decided to stop the car, because of now the intention, it was like to cause the accident. We had a lot of stories like that. We had stories like, in Soweto, there used to be this other woman, I forgot her name, whereby, she passed away many years ago, but now she mostly go to the road and she hitchhiked. She asked for, a lift, and people oftenly give her a lift, and they will later, find out that she passed away many years ago. She is doing some things, crazy things. People who are from Soweto will tell you the story. And I remember even back in the days, if I can go more deeper, there was this show called Khasiwisihu at Motsweding FM. The host, I remember, it was Mankau Mutwa. I used to listen to that show religiously every night. It was starting like 12 o'clock midnight until 2 o'clock. And remember, I used to, put earphones and listen to that show at night when I was still young, because I loved those kind of stories. I loved listening to those stories, because I remember there was these other two guys, who just came from wherever they were, and they were in a car and they saw these two beautiful ladies. They were, on the road hitchhiking, and they decided, you know what, let's help these ladies. They stopped there and they gave the ladies the lift. And after they gave those ladies a lift, everything was fine. They spoke with the ladies. Guys are guys. They will always try their luck. They spoke with the ladies, and the ladies had no problem to go home with the guys. I remember the other guy who was telling the story was like saying, you know what, me and my friend, we spoke about it, and the other lady said, you know what, my house is not far from here. You can drop me and your friend to the house, and you guys can drive to the place where you want to go, maybe to his house or maybe to my friend's house, and you can go and sleep there. And tomorrow morning, you'll come and pick up your friend. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that do happen all the time. Guys sometimes pick up women on the street, and they can go and spend the night. These are some of the things that people call one night stand, and sometimes that one night stand can, become a relationship, and later it can, develop to something which is very important, like marriage, whereby there will be children and, families can come together, And on this particular story, it was on radio. Remember, there was a guy who called at night to this show called, Khasiwisihu. So he was explaining and telling us the story that, he went with this woman and they spent the night where they spent the night. And now he dropped his friend with the other lady. But now when he comes the following morning, he find out that the community was with this guy. Because of this guy, he was naked and he was at the cemetery. Because he didn't know that the house that he saw, this big house that he saw, it was actually the graveside. It was actually the graveyard. So now they went to this graveyard, and now the lady took the gentleman to where they buried, her. And the guy, when he narrated the story, he said the friend said when they arrived, the lady said, no, don't just put your jacket and everything right here. Let me hang your clothes nicely in the wardrobe. Actually, what she did, she took the jacket and she hung it on top of, the tombstone. But the guy, because of now, spiritual things are spiritual things, ghosts are ghosts. So he saw a wardrobe. So they slept there. They did everything they wanted to do. Early in the morning, now when the neighbors or people who are staying in that village, they saw a man sleeping naked in the graveside. So now they went there, they took the guy, they said, what are you doing? This is abomination, this is bad, you cannot do this, you cannot disrespect, our ancestors and all these type of things. And, they wanted to beat this guy to death. And now when he arrived, the friend, that's when he said, no, this is my guy. And he confirmed the story, because this guy, he told everybody what really happened last night, And that's when he confirmed the story. He said, no, I also left with one of the friends, the girls, last night, and in that way, the story, was solid, and they had to spare this guy's life. And now they started to explain, the story, and they told the guy who spent the night at the cemetery that actually the person that you're talking about, we know the person passed away. That person was, a police officer, and the person, passed away many years ago. And now we keep on hearing stories like this about the person. And now the guy decided to describe the house, how the house looked like and everything. And I remember, the person, I think the guy passed away with the heart attack. He couldn't take, what he was told, by people. And it was just bad, because now the friend who survived was the one who was telling us the whole story. And remember, he also left with the woman who is no longer with us. These guys actually, they picked up, people who are no longer on earth, on the street. and it was one of those stories. So when we talk about places like modimolle and this type of stories, we know they are very deep, and sometimes because of we are trying to choose words correctly. Some stories you don't want to share, but I feel like what, I just want to be loose. I just want to share stories. I just want to be free on this channel and share some great stories with you guys, and share dreams with you guys, and share the things that I hear a lot about. And also, if you can follow the guy by the name of Leon Gumede, he is a guy who is doing skits all the time. He is one of the talented and gifted brother. He's from KZN, I believe. He's doing this kind of skits. Some of you guys, know him. He also did a short film about this other lady, who passed away many years ago, and now the guy gave her a lift. He didn't know, and she said, you know what, let's pass to my house first so I can tell my mom that I am going to spend the night to your place, because they were supposed to go to this guy who picked her on the street to where he's staying. And the lady asked for one favor. She said, let me just quickly go in there and take some few things. Women are women. They want to take some few things before they go in and sleep to the guy's place. And the guy was surprised because he parked outside, and he stayed for longer outside, because he was like saying, even if maybe she's freshening up, she cannot take that long. So eventually he went to knock, and when he finally saw the brother, that's when he realized that actually the person is waiting for is no longer with us, passed away some couple of years ago. And the brother was like saying, you are not the first person who came here complain about my sister, that my sister is always promising them love, and she is always taking them to this house, and we really don't know what message she wants to send. And later, that's when we saw that the guy said, let me call mom, and he called his mother. They sat down with the gentleman who gave that lady a lift, and they were explaining everything to the guy. And they also said, we always give everybody who fall into her trap this concussion that you must wash with, because of now you spoke with her, you are in agreement with her, and if you don't wash with this concussion that I'm giving you, you need to know that she will follow you forever, because of now you are her boyfriend. And what I'm talking about is there, guys. You can go and check it online. Leon Gumete, did that short film, and the mother was right, because the mother was like saying, my son, I feel for you, because of you are not the first person who come to this house complain about my daughter. She keep on doing these things all the time. But I am telling you, take this, use it. In our language, we call it sawasho. In a Zulu language, but it's washo or something. You have to use this so that you can, take off that, energy that the young lady, put in you, because of now you are in agreement with her, And he didn't want to use that. He said, no, I don't believe in those things. We don't use that. And when he went back to the car after he said his goodbye, he found out that the lady was sitting in the car, she was like saying, what took you so long? Let's go. And that's how the short film ended. And I understood that because of he didn't want to take what they were giving him, that's the reason why she is with him. So you can only imagine, what will really happen in his life, because she might later become the spiritual wife, whereby even if when it's like dating somebody, the relationship, keep on becoming complicated, whereby he will keep on fighting with the partner, not knowing that the main reason is because of he made a covenant with a ghost. He made a covenant with somebody who is no longer on earth. These kind of stories, people are sharing, but I know that we are so ignorant in a way that we just look at it, we're like, oh, well, we cannot even, pay attention to those kind of forms and everything. But I am telling you guys, I am going to share those kind of short films with you on this channel, and I'm going to focus a lot on horror genre a lot. Now, I went there and I was on the road, hiking, and I realized that these people, they were like shocked when they were looking at me and they were not stopping. That's when I went back, to the other side of the mountain. I went back to start recording that video when I said modimolle challenge accepted by Zachariah the ghost. And if it wasn't that they didn't want to give me the lift right away, that means that video was not going to be created. And I thank God for that, because after going back and realizing that they're not giving me a lift, I started recording that. And that video, it is one of the nicest videos on my channel and is performing well. Thank you guys. So after I've done recording that video, I went back to the road and I didn't even stand there for 5 minutes. There comes the half truck, because I was just pointing, because I'm going to Joburg. So there comes this other gentleman who told me that he is going to Rustenburg, and I told him that I'm going to Joburg, and I was ready to close the door. He said, but jump in, because I already stopped for you, I will see where I can drop you. So I jumped into the truck and we started talking, and he was surprised to hear that I came all the way from Johannesburg to that mountain, modimolle, to pray. And I'm even going back the same day. Like, man, you want to tell me that you took a trip just to come here and pray? So I started talking to him. I said, yeah, there are people who camp here for months. Others, they're camping here for weeks. Because he was shocked, because it was something new to him. I know there are many people who hear about this kind of stories. Others, this kind of stories, they don't even reach, to where they are. They just get surprised when they see breaking news on the newspaper, or maybe on the news when they were saying, they found somebody who's deceased on this and that. They don't really have details about that. And these kind of channels are important, because we are putting those stories out there so that, each and every mother and each and every father can know that, when their children are going to these rivers, they're going to these caves, they're going to mountain hiking, they should be careful of these type of things. So he gave me a lift. And after the toll gate Kranskop, I realized that there is a double garage of engine right there. And I told him, yeah, you can drop me at the double garage, because the garage will always be safe. And I know that there is always cars there and I can get a transport. So after he dropped me there, I decided to go, and get something to eat. I was like saying, I've been fasting the whole day, taking that trip to modimolle. I didn't want to eat anything. Let me just spoil myself, go in there and get streetwise too, and pop and get also, a Repstar, and get something nicer, And I remember I decided to go to the bathroom first. Let me just go to the bathroom. When I come back, then I can order everything, while I know that, I am not in a hurry to go to any bathroom or anything. So while I was like going back to the line, I realized that there was this other guy who is a member of this church that I cannot mention, but he was wearing a cap, so you'll know the church that I'm talking about, who was also at the line. Because if he saw me, I was wearing a white jacket, because that jacket, I made sure that after I bought it, I put it nicely in the wardrobe, knowing that one day I'm going to use it. So it was still brand new, so it was like pure white. So the guy looked at me and said, man, this is the new normal. This is how things are going to be done now. So I thought, okay, this guy is a prophet. This guy, he sees stuff. That means he see where I'm from. So I started opening up. I'm saying, yeah, it's the new normal, man. Since the churches are closed, now we have to go to mountains and pray all the time. And by the way, I was at modimolle. And I remember when he told me that, you know what, I don't have time for that mountain. And I always want to go to that mountain. In my heart, I was like saying, this guy, he is not telling the truth. He is not ready to go to that mountain. There is no such thing like I don't have time to climb the mountain. You are just not ready. And it turned out that it was just the most, important conversation that I had with this guy. Because I told him, like, look, before I forget, I wanted to ask you, because if I still have to hike and get a transport to Johannesburg, I want to know if you're in a public transport or maybe you're driving your own car. He was like saying, man, there is a space. I'm in a public transport, but don't worry, I want to buy something here. And from thereafter, I can speak with the driver. Just like that. He told the driver that we have one more person who's going to Johannesburg. And I spoke with the driver and he asked me, how much do you pay from here to Johannesburg? And I told him, like, I don't know from here, because from Johannesburg to Polokwane, I pay 280. So he said, no, give me $100. So he gave me a discount. So I traveled from that side now, coming back with that $100, and it was beautiful. And there was something special about this guy that I didn't know what it was, when we were talking, until he started to open up and he's sharing a lot of stories with me. And I saw some similarities between this guy and my grandfather from my mother's side. First of all, this guy, he have an operation on his right eye. So when we were like talking, there at the KFC, queue, I was like saying, okay, maybe this guy had, this kind of an eye from birth. He was born with it, not knowing that actually he was in a space whereby, he was getting robbed and this and that, and later he eventually lost the eye and he went to the hospital. He shared the whole story of how they operated his eye and what was really happening in the hospital the day they were operating him. And I cannot share that story. If I start sharing that story about that guy, I will have the full 2 hours to 3 hours, because we spoke from that double garage until Johannesburg. He was still talking. And I also realized that my grandfather from my mother's side had an operation on the right eye. And this taxi, it was the taxi from Venda. Those people, they were from Venda, and exactly to that spot, there were 2 taxis which were exchanging. The other taxi were taking people from this other taxi who are going to Pretoria, and the others who are coming from the other taxi, they were going to Johannesburg. So they were like exchanging people right there on the double garage, knowing that when they take a trip now, they don't have mixed trips. They don't have to go to Pretoria first before they go to Joburg. Now, at least the other one knows that I have a load of people who are going to Pretoria, and I have the list of other people who are going to Johannesburg. So now it happened that I sat at the back seat with this guy who just helped me to get a transport, and he started sharing the story of how he got injured and how was his experience when they were operating him. And I realized that this guy is a member of this certain church, and I realized that his father is a pastor of that church, and which is something which is, there is so much similarity, because my grandfather was a pastor of this church that he is in, and my grandfather, he is from Venda, and when it came to that space, and my grandfather had an operation on the right eye, but if you look at that eye, you will think it doesn't see, but it see, you know what I'm saying? So there were so much similarities between this guy and my grandfather. And this guy, I remember when he told me that your prayers went to the right place, your prayer was listened by the right people, everything you were asking on this mountain arrived to the right people and is well received, and all your problems are solved. Relax, your trip was successful. He was telling me all these things, and I didn't even know this guy. It was the first time I met this guy. And I remember when he was talking, he said something in my language, and he said, "Moto hakubi wumshumo." Like, a person don't just get fired at work for no reason. Just relax, and he was like telling me about my workspace, about things which are happening at work, and, and just for free. I never even gave the guy a cent. I just met him on that day, and to be honest, not to brag and to share a lot of stuff, and after that day, so much changed. Even the dreams that I'm having, they are different. I just wanted to share this other dream, but I know that now I don't have time. It's already late now. It's 20. I don't have enough. I have only, 2 minutes left. So I cannot share the dream. Maybe I'll make a separate video whereby I'll talk about the recent dream that I just saw, on Wednesday night. And when I'm recording this video today, it is Thursday, and the time is 16:08, and I believe today must be the 17th. I believe it should be the 17th. Oh, it's the 16th. Okay, it is the 16th. September 2021. Guys, so much, has been answered. That mountain, it was, the key, because I realized that I was struggling a lot, even financially. But recently I'm the person who's playing football online. There are some tickets which are going, well, and also my girlfriend, there is some stuff that she's been waiting for a very long time, and recently she is even receiving more than what she was expecting. I'm not gonna go to details about those things. You will just see the changes on the channel. You'll just see the trips that I'm going to take recently and the things that I'm going to upload. And I appreciate you guys showing me love and support. Thank you.